My boyfriend destroyed my life by leaking private photos and got me expelled, so I kept receipts. 6 years later, he came crawling back, asking for forgiveness, but I buried him instead. I need to start this by saying I was that girl who had everything figured out. Pre-med at a top university with a full scholarship. Parents who worked multiple jobs to give me every opportunity. I studied Friday nights while everyone else partied and felt good about it. Then I met Marcus. He was everything I wasn't supposed to want. Business major who threw parties that shook the dorm. Lacrosse captain with that easy, confident smile that made professors extend his deadlines. Even my strict parents loved him, especially after he spent an entire dinner discussing his 5-year business plan and complimenting my mom's chai. We'd been dating 8 months when it started. He asked for just a flirty photo one night while he was studying across campus. His response was immediate, enthusiastic. That little rush of power was intoxicating. This guy that everyone wanted was obsessed with me. It became our thing. Morning photo before his 8 a.m. class. Evening one while I was in the library. He'd screenshot them to get through boring lectures, and I loved being his secret distraction. Nobody knew the pre-med grind included sending increasingly bold photos to keep my boyfriend's attention. The first red flag was subtle. He started taking hours to respond instead of seconds. His replies shrank from paragraphs to single emojis. Then, nothing. When I asked, he said I was being clingy, that the daily photos were a bit much. He needed space for rush week. I gave him space. 3 weeks later, I saw it on Instagram. Marcus making out with a girl named Sophia at a day party. His hand in her hair the same way he used to hold mine. When I confronted him that night, he didn't even bother denying it. Just sat there in his room and told me I was exhausting, that my neediness drove him away, that we were basically over, and I should have known. Through tears, I begged him to delete my photos. He looked offended. What kind of guy do you think I am? They're already gone. Jesus, Maya, I'm not a complete a-hole. I believed him. The following Monday, I woke up to 47 missed calls. My roommate Sarah was shaking me awake, horrified. The photos were everywhere. Posted on the university confession page with the caption, "Remember that prude brown girl who acts all innocent? Not so innocent. Crazy ex wouldn't stop sending these even after I ended it. They'd been screenshotted, shared across every group me, printed out and taped in the men's bathrooms. By 8 a.m., I was in the dean's office. By 8:30, my parents were calling. My mom switching between Hindi and English, sobbing about family honor. By noon, I was expelled for violating digital conduct policy and bringing disrepute to the institution. Marcus got a formal warning. His father had donated the new business building. My parents drained their retirement to repay my scholarship, then cut me off completely. My extended family in India knew within days. I went from pre-med to washing dishes at a campus-adjacent restaurant, then overnight shifts stocking groceries. I had to live with 4 roommates in a moldy apartment. Meanwhile, Marcus was elected to student government, posted about learning from mistakes and growing through adversity, won the Outstanding Senior Award. I'd see my former study group at the restaurant sometimes. They'd sit discussing organic chemistry while I refilled their waters. Either they didn't recognize me or pretended not to. The worst part was the messages. Random numbers sending my photos back to me years later. Found these online. You're hot. Wanna meet up? Through mutual friends I couldn't quite unfriend, I saw Marcus graduate magna fluid laude, landed an incredible internship that led to a full-time job. Motivational LinkedIn posts about character through adversity. 6 years passed like that. Him climbing ladders, me climbing out of poverty one 15-hour shift at a time. Then last month my phone rang. An investigator from Marcus's firm. He was up for senior partner at 28, the youngest in company history. They were doing extensive background checks. My name came up as someone he'd significantly wronged. That night, Marcus emailed me for the first time since college. It was a long message about therapy, growth, a fiancé who didn't know about his past. He hoped I could forgive him before he lost his shot. He suggested we meet for coffee to clear up any misunderstandings. I deleted it, then spent 3 hours on video with the investigator. I showed her everything I'd saved. His bragging texts, prejudiced jokes about ethnic girls who act innocent, screenshots calling me crazy. 2 other women gave similar stories. Within a month, Marcus was being quietly managed out. His fiancé left after finding out why. That felt more powerful than revenge. Then yesterday, my manager pulled me aside, beaming. We've got a new senior regional manager to oversee all locations. He has extensive consulting experience and wanted to transition to hospitality. My stomach dropped before she even said his name. Marcus Williams starts Monday. He specifically requested this region, says he has a personal connection. I ran to the bathroom and threw up. Last night at 2 a.m., my phone buzzed. Unknown number. See you Monday. We have so much to catch up on. I stared at the message until my vision blurred. My hands shook as I screenshot it, adding it to the folder I'd kept all these years, the one labeled evidence. I called in sick for my Saturday shift. Instead of serving brunch to college kids, I spent the morning at my kitchen table with my laptop, 4 cups of coffee, and 6 years of documentation spread across every surface. My roommate stepped around me carefully, recognizing the look on my face. The investigator's business card was still in my wallet. I dialed her number. Ms. Chen, this is Maya. We spoke last month about Marcus Williams. My voice was steady, professional. Nothing like the girl who'd cried in the dean's office 6 years ago. Maya, of course. How can I help you? Marcus just got hired as senior regional manager at the restaurant chain where I work. He sent me a threatening text at 2 a.m. I have concerns about workplace safety. The silence on her end stretched for 3 seconds. Forward me everything. I'll make some calls. I sent her the screenshot, then opened my laptop. The company's HR portal stared back at me. I'd never filed a complaint before. Never wanted to rock the boat at the one job that gave me steady hours and health insurance. But my fingers moved across the keyboard with purpose. By Saturday afternoon, I had 17 pages documenting everything. The revenge adult film incident, the expulsion, the years of harassment from strangers who'd found my photos online, the investigator's findings, the 2 a.m. text. I attached every screenshot, every piece of evidence I'd saved. Sunday morning, my manager called. Maya, I need you to come in early tomorrow. HR wants to meet with you before your shift. The HR representative was a woman named Victoria, who looked like she'd been pulled from her weekend. She had my complaint printed out, highlighted in 3 different colors. This is extensive, she said, flipping through pages, and concerning. We had no idea about Mr. Williams's history when we hired him. His consulting firm didn't share their investigation findings. Victoria's pen stopped moving. What investigation? I pulled out my phone, showed her the investigator's business card, the emails we'd exchanged. They contacted me last month. 2 other women came forward with similar experiences. That's why he's no longer with the firm. She excused herself for 20 minutes. When she returned, returned, her face was grim. We'll be conducting our own investigation immediately. In the meantime, we need to ensure a safe work environment for all employees. Monday morning arrived like a countdown clock hitting 0. I got to work an hour early, clocked in, and stationed myself at the host stand where I'd have clear sight of the entrance. My coworkers sensed something was off but didn't ask questions. At 8:47 a.m., Marcus walked through the door. 6 years had added some gray to his temples, a designer suit to his wardrobe, but that smile was exactly the same. The one that had charmed my parents, my professors, everyone who should have protected me. He scanned the restaurant until his eyes found mine. I didn't run, didn't hide, just stood there in my polyester uniform with my chin up, meeting his gaze. His smile faltered for half a second before returning full force. My manager appeared from the back office, all nervous energy and forced enthusiasm. "Mr. Williams, welcome to the team. Let me give you the tour, introduce you to everyone." They made their way through the restaurant. I watched Marcus shake hands, make jokes, work his charm on my coworkers, the same people I'd spent 6 years building relationships with, who'd covered my shifts when I couldn't afford groceries, who'd become my chosen family when my blood family cut me off. When they reached the host stand, my manager's smile was strained. "And this is Maya, one of our most reliable team members. She's been with us for 6 years," Marcus finished, extending his hand. "Maya and I actually know each other from college. Small world, isn't it?" I looked at his outstretched hand, thought about all the times those hands had held me, had promised to delete those photos, had typed the messages that destroyed my life. My hands stayed at my sides. "Actually," I said, voice carrying across the suddenly quiet restaurant, "Marcus is the reason I couldn't finish my pre-med degree." The words hung in the air like a grenade with a pin pulled. My manager's face went white. Marcus's hand slowly lowered. "I think we should continue the tour," my manager said quickly, already steering Marcus away, but I saw the way she looked at me, then at him, pieces clicking into place. The rest of my shift passed in a blur. Marcus disappeared into the regional office upstairs. My coworkers kept shooting me glances, whispering in corners. The assistant manager pulled me aside during the lunch rush. "What did you mean about your degree?" she asked quietly. "Ask HR," I said. "They have all the documentation." By 2 p.m., I noticed corporate cars in the parking lot. By 3 p.m., Victoria from HR was back, along with 2 other people in suits. They went straight to the regional office. The door stayed closed for 2 hours. My shift ended at 4 p.m., but I stayed, wiping down tables that were already clean, refilling salt shakers that didn't need refilling, waiting. At 5:17 p.m., the office door opened. Marcus emerged first, his face a mask of controlled fury. No easy smile now. He walked straight past me without a word, out the door to his car. Through the window, I watched him sit in the driver's seat for 5 minutes before peeling out of the parking lot. Victoria found me in the break room. "We'll need to speak with you again tomorrow, more formally. Can you bring all your documentation?" "Of course." She paused at the door. "That investigator from his previous firm. She sent over their full report an hour ago. It's comprehensive." That night, my phone buzzed with texts from coworkers. Word had spread fast. Some offered support. Others asked questions. A few shared their own stories about feeling uncomfortable around certain managers, about complaints that went nowhere, about choosing silence over risking their jobs. I thought about responding, then put my phone aside. Tomorrow would bring more meetings, more questions, more dredging up of the past. But tonight, for the first time in 6 years, I felt something I'd almost forgotten. Power. Not the kind Marcus had wielded, built on family money and institutional protection. This was different. This was the power of truth, of documentation, of refusing to disappear quietly into the background of his success story. I pulled out my laptop and opened the folder marked Evidence. 6 years of screenshots, emails, messages, proof that I'd survived, proof that I'd endured, proof that I was still here, still fighting, still refusing to let him rewrite history. My roommate knocked on my door. "You okay? Heard you had a rough day at work?" "Actually," I said, surprising myself with a smile, "I think it was one of my better ones." She looked confused but didn't press. After she left, I sat in the quiet of my room, thinking about the girl who'd cried in the dean's office 6 years ago, the one who'd believed Marcus when he promised the photos were deleted, the one who'd lost everything in a single morning. I wished I could tell her it would be okay, that she'd survived the shame, the poverty, the endless humiliation, that she'd learned to save every receipt, every screenshot, every piece of evidence, that one day, the boy who destroyed her life would walk into her restaurant and she'd be ready. My phone buzzed again. Another unknown number, but this time, instead of a threatening message, it was a link to a LinkedIn post. Marcus Williams had updated his employment status, exploring new opportunities in consulting. Sometimes the best career moves are unexpected pivots. I screenshot it and added it to the folder. Tuesday morning came with a corporate email marked urgent. All staff meeting at 7 a.m., mandatory attendance. I arrived to find the entire restaurant packed with employees from every shift, some still in street clothes, others half-dressed in uniforms. The regional director stood at the front, flanked by Victoria and 2 other HR representatives. "We're implementing new workplace conduct policies effective immediately," the director announced. His eyes swept the room but avoided mine. "Any employee with concerns about management should report directly to HR. We take all complaints seriously." Marcus stood off to the side, arms crossed, that familiar smile playing at his lips. He caught my eye and winked. After the meeting, I found an envelope tucked under my windshield wiper. Inside, printed screenshots of my photos from 6 years ago with a note. "Thought you might want these back. Still looking good." No signature needed. I drove straight to the police station. The officer who took my report looked barely older than I'd been in college. She typed slowly, asking me to spell Marcus's name 3 times. "So these photos are from 6 years ago?" she asked, frowning at her screen. "Yes, but he's harassing me now. He left them on my car this morning. Can you prove he left them?" I couldn't. The parking lot cameras faced the building, not the employee spaces. She took the envelope as evidence but warned me that without proof of who left it, there wasn't much they could do. Back at work for the lunch shift, I noticed changes. My schedule had been altered, moving me to closing shifts when Marcus would be gone. My regular tables were reassigned. The assistant manager who'd asked about my degree now avoided eye contact. During my break, I called Ms. Chen again. This time, her assistant answered. "I'm sorry, Ms. Chen is no longer with the firm. Can someone else help you?" My stomach dropped. "When did she leave?" "Last week. Rather sudden. Is there something I can assist with?" I hung up. Last week was when I'd first called her about Marcus's new job. That afternoon, a new server started. Barely 18, fresh out of high school, saving for college. Marcus personally showed her around, hand on her lower back as he guided her through the kitchen. I watched him lean in close, explaining the POS system, and felt sick. I pulled her aside during the dinner rush. "Be careful around him," she laughed, adjusting her apron. He seems nice. Said he might have some scholarship connections for me. The words hit like ice water. The same promises, the same grooming. I wanted to grab her shoulders, tell her everything. Instead, I watched Marcus call her over to discuss her schedule privately in his office. Wednesday brought a meeting with Victoria and the corporate legal team. They sat across from me at a conference table, my 17 pages of documentation between us. We've reviewed your complaint thoroughly, Victoria began, her tone different from Monday's sympathy. While we understand your concerns, Mr. Williams has provided documentation showing these incidents were part of a consensual relationship that ended badly. Consensual? My voice cracked. He distributed intimate photos without my permission. I was expelled. I lost everything. The lawyer, a man in his 50s with a wedding ring, cleared his throat. The university records show you were expelled for violating digital conduct policies. Mr. Williams received a warning for sharing content, but the primary violation was yours for creating it. They'd already talked to Marcus, already decided whose story mattered. Furthermore, the lawyer continued, Mr. Williams has expressed concerns about your mental state. He's worried this fixation on past events might affect workplace safety. My mental state? The room spun slightly. He's the one who sent me a threatening text at 2 a.m. Millie. He's provided phone records showing no such communication. Are you sure the number was his? Of course it wasn't his main number. Of course he'd covered his tracks. I pulled out my phone, showed them the screenshot. They exchanged glances. Anyone could have sent that, Victoria said gently, like talking to a child. Without proof, it was Mr. Williams. The meeting ended with them suggesting I take some time off, paid leave while they investigated further. I knew what that meant. They were managing me out, just like Marcus's old firm had done to him. Only I didn't have a golden parachute or another job lined up. I left through the kitchen to avoid the dining room. The new girl was there, laughing at something on her phone. She looked up as I passed. Marcus added me on Instagram. He has such a cool life. Did you know he volunteers with underprivileged youth? I kept walking. That night, my roommates held an intervention of sorts. They'd found a subletter for my room if I needed to move back home, back to parents who hadn't spoken to me in 6 years. The thought made me want to scream. Maybe it's time to let this go, one of them suggested gently. You've been carrying this for so long. Maybe therapy would help. They meant well. They hadn't seen the way Marcus looked at that new girl, hadn't lived through what came next. Thursday, I used my forced leave to visit the university. The dean who'd expelled me had retired, but his replacement agreed to see me. Dr. Patricia Vance sat behind the same desk where I'd sobbed 6 years ago. I've reviewed your file, she said, adjusting her glasses. It's a difficult situation. The policies at the time were clear about digital conduct, but Marcus distributed the photos. He posted them everywhere. Why wasn't he expelled? She shifted uncomfortably. Mr. Williams's father has been very generous to the university, but that didn't influence the decision. The lie sat between us like a physical thing. However, I can tell you that Mr. Williams is no longer welcome at alumni events. There have been other incidents. Other incidents? I can't discuss specifics. Privacy concerns. She stood, signaling the meeting's end. I am sorry about what happened to you. The university has since updated its policies. That's all I can offer. I drove home feeling hollow. Other incidents, other girls. How many had there been? How many would there be? Friday morning, my phone rang at 6 a.m., my manager sounding stressed. Maya, I need you to come in. The new girl didn't show up for her opening shift. She's not answering her phone. I threw on clothes and drove to the restaurant. Marcus's car was already in the parking lot. Inside, he stood at the host stand, checking reservations like nothing was wrong. Where is she? I asked. He looked up. That practiced confusion perfect. Who? The new server. The 18-year-old you were showing around? Oh, her. He shrugged. She texted last night saying the job wasn't for her. Kids these days, no work ethic. I wanted to grab him, shake him, demand to know what he'd done. Instead, I clocked in and started setting up the dining room. My hands shook as I folded napkins. An hour later, the girl's mother called the restaurant. She was in the hospital. Attempted OD. She'd left a note about photos, about promises broken, about shame. The mother wanted to know if anything had happened at work. My manager's face went gray as she took the call. I watched her look at Marcus, then at me, understanding dawning, but Marcus was already on his phone, speaking quietly to someone. Within minutes, the corporate lawyer arrived. The rest of the shift was chaos. Police came to take statements. The girl's parents arrived, demanding answers. Marcus stayed in his office with the lawyer while Victoria handled the crowd. I heard fragments of the story. The girl had gone to Marcus's apartment after work. He'd offered to help with college applications. Photos were taken. When she wanted to leave, he'd shown her what he had, explained how easily they could end up online, but she was smarter than I'd been. She'd recorded him on her phone, had evidence. By noon, Marcus was escorted out by security. No handshakes, no goodbyes. His career in hospitality had lasted exactly 5 days. I watched from the kitchen window as he loaded his box of personal items into his car. He looked up, found me watching, and for just a moment, the mask slipped. Pure rage stared back at me. Then he smiled and drove away. The restaurant closed early. Staff meetings, crisis management, damage control. Victoria pulled me aside. We owe you an apology, she said. We should have listened. Your documentation, combined with today's events. The company is taking this very seriously now. I nodded, too exhausted to feel vindicated. What about the girl? She's stable. Her parents aren't pressing charges in exchange for a settlement. Marcus won't be working in this industry again. But we both knew that wasn't enough. He'd find another job, another company that didn't check references too closely, another crop of young women to target. That night, I sat with my laptop again. But instead of hiding in my folder of evidence, I opened a new document, started typing. The whole story, from the beginning. Every detail I could remember. Every piece of evidence I'd saved. My roommate found me there at 3 a.m. still typing. What are you doing? Making sure people know, I said. Making sure he can't just disappear and start over somewhere else. She read over my shoulder for a few minutes. You're really going to post this? Use real names? His name, mine. Anyone who wants to fact check can verify he was terminated from 2 companies in 1 month. He could sue you. Let him try. Truth is a defense. Saturday morning, I posted the story. Tagged the university, both companies he'd worked for, included screenshots of everything I legally could. Then I went to work my lunch shift like any other day. By the time I got home, it had been shared hundreds of times. Comments poured in from women with similar stories. Not just about Marcus, but about all the men like him. The ones who weaponized intimacy, who counted on shame to silence us. A journalist reached out, then another. By Sunday, 3 more women had come forward with stories about Marcus from his university days. The business school was launching an investigation into whether his degree should be revoked, but Marcus wasn't done. Sunday night, my parents called for the first time in 6 years. Their voices were strained, formal. Maya, my mother said in Hindi, we've been contacting contacted by a lawyer. He says you're spreading lies about a respected businessman, that you're mentally unstable. He has offered to help get you treatment if we can convince you to stop this vendetta. It's not lies, Mom. I have proof. I've had proof for 6 years. This boy says you pursued him, that you sent him inappropriate things without his asking, that you've been obsessed with him since college. The gaslighting was so perfect, so complete, that for a moment I almost believed it myself. Almost wondered if I had remembered it wrong. But then I thought about that 18-year-old girl in the hospital, about the other women coming forward. He's lying, Mom, just like he lied 6 years ago. Why would he lie? He has everything. You have nothing. Maybe you need help, Beta. This anger isn't healthy. I hung up, blocked their numbers. Some bridges weren't worth maintaining. Monday brought a new wave. Marcus's lawyer sent a cease and desist. I forwarded it to the journalist who'd interviewed me. She had a legal team that specialized in cases like this. They took it pro bono. The restaurant was in crisis mode. Corporate sent a team to manage the fallout. They offered me my job back with a promotion, a raise, anything to make this go away quietly. I declined, gave my 2 weeks notice. It was time to move on. But Marcus had one more card to play. Tuesday afternoon, while I was working what should have been a normal shift, a man walked in during the lunch rush. Well-dressed, professional, holding an envelope. Maya Patel? He asked. I nodded and he handed me the papers. You've been served. Defamation lawsuit. Marcus was suing for $10 million in damages. Claims of lost wages, emotional distress, damage to reputation. My hands trembled as I read through the legal language. My manager gently took the papers from me. Go home, she said. Take the rest of your shifts off, with pay. We'll figure this out. I drove home in a daze. $10 million. I made $30,000 a year. The number was so absurd it almost made me laugh, but I knew what this was. Not a real attempt to win money, but a way to bury me in legal fees, to silence me through financial destruction. That night, the journalist called. I heard about the lawsuit. My editor wants to run the story tomorrow. Front page of the digital edition. Are you ready for this? Was I ready? I thought about 6 years of silence. 6 years of watching him climb while I scraped by. 6 years of shame and poverty and messages from strangers who'd seen my photos. Run it, I said. Wednesday morning, I woke to my phone exploding with notifications. The article was live. The Marcus Williams story, A Pattern of Abuse, ran with a photo of him from his company website, that perfect smile now looking predatory under the headline. The journalist had done her homework, found 7 women total willing to speak on record, documented the pattern from his university days through both corporate jobs, included the sewer slide attempt of the latest victim. The article was careful, factual, legally bulletproof. By noon, Marcus's LinkedIn was gone. His Instagram was private. The lawsuit threats stopped as his lawyer likely advised him that discovery would not go in his favor. The university announced a formal review of his degree and donor status. But I knew this wasn't over. Men like Marcus didn't just accept defeat. They regrouped, rebranded, found new hunting grounds. The article would follow him, but so would his family's money and connections. Thursday was my last day at the restaurant. My coworkers threw a small party in the break room. Cake, cards, promises to keep in touch. The new girl was there, out of the hospital, looking fragile but determined. She hugged me tight. Thank you, she whispered, for trying to warn me, for everything after. Victoria handed me my final check with a bonus I hadn't expected. Corporate wanted to thank you for your years of service, and for everything else. We're implementing new policies, background checks that actually check backgrounds, safe reporting systems. It shouldn't have taken this to make changes, but I appreciated the gesture, even knowing it was partly damage control. Change was change, even when it came too late. As I walked to my car for the last time, I felt my phone buzz. Unknown number. My finger hovered over the delete button, then I opened it. You think you've won? This isn't over. I know where you live, where you work, where you'll work next. See you soon. I screenshot it, added it to my folder, and forwarded it to my lawyer. Then I sat in my car in the employee parking lot where this had all started again, and I smiled, because he was wrong. I had won. Not the life I'd planned, not the degree I'd earned, not the family I'd lost, but I'd won something else. My voice, my story, the power to warn others. And Marcus? He was just another predator exposed, scrambling in the light, making threats he couldn't follow through on without exposing himself further. I started my car and drove away from the restaurant for the last time. Tomorrow I'd start looking for a new job, maybe even think about going back to school. The future was uncertain, but it was mine. The girl who'd cried in the dean's office 6 years ago was gone. In her place sat someone harder, smarter, unafraid of men who smiled while they destroyed lives, someone who saved receipts and screenshots and evidence, someone who was ready for whatever came next. The pro bono lawyers moved fast. Within 48 hours of Marcus's defamation suit, they'd filed a countersuit. Intentional infliction of emotional distress, harassment, and distribution of intimate images without consent. The dollar amount made my head spin, but Sebastian, the lead attorney, explained it was strategic. We need to make this expensive for him to pursue, he said during our video call. Discovery alone will expose everything he's trying to hide. Friday morning, I cleaned out my work locker. 6 years of accumulated memories, birthday cards from coworkers, a spare apron, photos from staff parties where I'd learned to smile again. The 18-year-old server, whose name I'd learned was Vida, helped me carry boxes to my car. I'm testifying, she said quietly. My parents didn't want me to, but I recorded everything, the whole conversation in his apartment. I stopped loading boxes. You don't have to do this. You've been through enough. She shook her head. He told me about you, while it was happening. Said you'd tried to ruin him before, but he always bounced back. That's when I knew to record. My hands tightened on the cardboard. Even while victimizing someone new, Marcus had been thinking about me, planning his next move. That afternoon, Sebastian called with news. Marcus's lawyer wanted to meet. Off the record, no commitments. Just to explore options. We agreed to meet Monday at a neutral location. The weekend passed in a blur of apartment hunting. With no job and a lawsuit hanging over my head, most places rejected my applications, but a small studio in a cheaper neighborhood accepted me, probably because the landlord didn't run credit checks. My roommates helped me pack, trying to hide their relief that the drama was leaving with me. Sunday night, my phone rang. Unknown number, but local. Maya, this is Patricia Vance from the university. I'm calling unofficially. Can we speak? I sat on my packed boxes. I'm listening. The board met yesterday. In light of recent events and the ongoing investigation, they're reconsidering certain past decisions, specifically expulsions related to the digital conduct policy between 2016 and 2018. My heart hammered. What does that mean? It means if you're interested, there may be a path to readmission. Your credits would still be valid. Financial aid would need to be renegotiated, but the door isn't closed. I couldn't speak. speak. After 6 years, the thing I'd grieved most was suddenly possible again. Pre-med at 30 wasn't what I'd planned, but it was something. Think about it, Patricia said. No pressure. The offer stands regardless of any ongoing legal matters. Monday's meeting was at a conference room in a downtown high-rise. Marcus's lawyer, an older man who reeked of expensive cologne, sat across from Sebastian and me. Marcus wasn't there, which felt like another power play. My client is willing to drop the defamation suit, the lawyer began, sliding papers across the table. In exchange, Ms. Patel removes all social media posts, signs a non-disclosure agreement, and provides a written statement that Mr. Williams never intentionally caused her harm. Sebastian laughed, actually laughed. Your client is facing potential criminal charges in multiple jurisdictions. We have 7 women ready to testify. Ms. Patel's countersuit alone could bankrupt him. And you're offering silence? The lawyer's jaw tightened. Mr. Williams comes from a prominent family. They're prepared to make this expensive for everyone. Good, Sebastian said. Discovery will be fascinating. I'm particularly interested in your client's electronic devices. Deleted photos have a way of resurfacing during forensic analysis. The meeting ended without agreement, but as we waited for the elevator, the lawyer called Sebastian aside. I heard fragments. Reasonable settlement, mutual releases, no admission of wrongdoing. He's scared, Sebastian told me afterward. The criminal investigation is moving forward. The 18-year-old's recording is damning. He needs this civil suit to go away before it gets worse. Tuesday brought more developments. The journalist who'd written the article called with updates. 3 more women had reached out after reading the story. One was pursuing criminal charges from an incident 2 years ago, still within the statute of limitations. Marcus's pattern was becoming undeniable. I spent the afternoon at the university, meeting with an admissions counselor. My transcript was pulled from archives, grades still stellar despite everything. We talked about prerequisites I'd need to refresh, MCAT prep, the reality of competing with students 6 years younger, but it was possible. Difficult, expensive, but possible. Wednesday morning, I woke to find Marcus's Instagram public again. A new post, a photo of him volunteering at a youth center, caption about rising above false accusations and helping the next generation despite personal attacks. The comments were turned off, but the likes poured in from accounts I didn't recognize. Within hours, the youth center released a statement. They'd been unaware of the allegations when Marcus volunteered for a single photo opportunity. He was no longer welcome at their facilities. The post disappeared, but screenshots were already circulating. Sebastian called that afternoon. They've made an offer, a real one this time. We met at his office. The number was substantial. Not life-changing money, but enough to cover school, living expenses, a fresh start. In exchange, mutual releases, no admission of wrongdoing, and I could keep my social media posts up. The only condition was no future posts specifically naming Marcus. He's trying to salvage what's left of his reputation, Sebastian explained. Your story stays up, but he can claim it was resolved amicably. It's not perfect, but it's something. I thought about the 18-year-old in the hospital, the 7 women who'd come forward, the 3 new ones. Criminal investigations in multiple jurisdictions. Marcus would face consequences, just not from me directly. Take the deal, I said. Thursday was signing day. Paperwork, notarizations, wire transfers. By afternoon, I had more money in my account than I'd seen in 6 years. It felt surreal. Tainted, maybe, but also like possibility. That night, the journalist called with final updates. Her editor wanted a follow-up piece. The criminal investigation had expanded. Marcus's father had hired a crisis management firm, but the damage was spreading. The university was under pressure to revoke his degree. His consulting firm faced lawsuits from clients who felt deceived. Friday morning, I signed a lease for a small apartment near the university. The landlord, an elderly woman who'd read the article, offered a discount. I have granddaughters, she said simply. I spent the weekend moving. My old roommates helped, relieved but supportive. The studio was tiny but mine. No mold, no sharing bathrooms, no tiptoeing around others' schedules. I unpacked my boxes, hung my acceptance letter from 6 years ago on the wall, a reminder of what was taken and what might still be possible. Monday brought registration for prerequisite courses. Organic chemistry refresher, biology lab, physics. The advisor warned it would be intense, catching up while working. I'd already applied to several labs as a technician, using my restaurant experience to emphasize reliability and work ethic. Tuesday afternoon, while organizing my closet, I found the folder. Evidence, written in my handwriting from 6 years ago. Hundreds of screenshots, emails, messages, proof of survival, but also chains holding me to the past. I sat on my floor, looking through them one last time. Then I walked to the dumpster behind my building and threw it away. Kept digital copies on a cloud server Sebastian recommended, but the physical folder went into the trash. It felt like exhaling after holding my breath for 6 years. Wednesday's mail brought my class schedule. Full-time course load plus lab work. I'd need to find a part-time job, but the settlement would cover basics. My phone buzzed with a text from an unknown number. I almost deleted it, then recognized the area code. My parents' city. Beta, we heard about the university. Your father says if you need help with books. I stared at the message. No apology. No acknowledgement. Just an offer of help wrapped in conditions I could already imagine. I typed several responses, deleted them all, then blocked the number. Some bridges weren't worth rebuilding. Thursday morning, I started my first lab technician job. Basic work, preparing samples, cleaning equipment, data entry. But I wore a lab coat for the first time in 6 years. My supervisor, a woman who'd returned to science after a decade away, showed me around. It's never too late, she said, apropos of nothing. I was 35 when I came back, 40 when I got my PhD. Life isn't a race. Friday afternoon, I ran into a familiar face at the campus bookstore. One of my old study group members, now in residency. She froze, recognition dawning slowly. Maya? Oh my god, I saw the article. I'm so sorry. We should have. It's fine, I said, meaning it. Ancient history. She shifted uncomfortably. Are you back? At school? Starting over. Pre-med round 2. That's, wow. If you need notes or anything, I kept everything. We exchanged numbers. Maybe we'd reconnect, maybe not, but the offer felt genuine. Saturday marked 2 weeks since leaving the restaurant. I spent it studying, remembering how to memorize chemical structures and metabolic pathways. My brain felt rusty but eager. The settlement money sat mostly untouched, budgeted carefully for 3 years of expenses. Sunday brought unexpected news. Vita texted that Marcus had been arrested. The recording she'd made, combined with evidence from other women, led to formal charges, multiple counts. His father's lawyers were scrambling, but bail was set high. The mugshot leaked within hours. No easy smile, just a middle-aged man looking tired and ordinary. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no vindication, just empty space where anger used to live. I went back to studying, losing myself in electronic compound configurations and molecular bonds. Monday morning, walking to lab, I passed the restaurant. New management, I'd heard. New policies. Through the window, I saw my old coworkers setting up for lunch rush. That life felt like a dream now. Or maybe this one did. Both real, both mine. Separated by one man's cruelty and my refusal to disappear. My phone buzzed. Sebastian forwarding a news update. Marcus's trial date was set. Multiple victims would testify. The university had officially revoked his degree. His LinkedIn showed no employment. The golden boy was finally falling. But I didn't click a link. Didn't need to see his face or read the details. I had organic chemistry in 20 minutes. Lab work after. A future to rebuild. One molecule at a time. The girl who'd cried in the dean's office was gone. So was the woman who'd served tables for 6 years, saving evidence and nursing rage. In their place stood someone new. 30 years old, starting over, unafraid. I tucked my phone away and headed to class.